Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants Hangout. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I will be your host for today. Very excited to be taking a virtual field trip today to Toronto, to the Ripley's Aquarium of Canada, where we're joined by two aquarists, David Fraser and Patrick Williston. They'll be demonstrating some of the behavioral training sessions with the two female zebra sharks at the aquarium. And so I'm going to let Patrick take over for a little bit, and he'll tell you a little bit about the sharks. He'll tell you a little bit about what David's up to, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A later. So Patrick, I'm going to throw things over to you.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Patrick. I'm an educator here at Ripley's Aquarium of Canada. I am going to be talking to you guys while Dave is going to be training and feeding these two very beautiful zebra sharks that we have here. Now, these sharks, like you mentioned, are both female. They are named Biggie and Drew, and they are very friendly, especially to our aquarist here, Dave. Dave has been working with these guys for quite a while, and so they have become extremely comfortable with him. They know that when he goes in the water and is bringing the food, that they can see and also smell very clearly that they know it's feeding time, and they are very comfortable with Dave handling them. Now, this is important because these beautiful sharks, it's a really great opportunity for us to be able to see them up close. It's a great opportunity for us to check up on them, to make sure they don't have any cuts or scrapes or any strange plaques or marks on them that might be new. So you'll be able to see there that when Dave is actually hand feeding them, that he'll also be kind of turning them around and looking at them closely. And that's also a really good opportunity for us to take any samples we might need from them, including blood samples. We've been able to do so with these sharks before, where we have our aquarist Dave interacting with them so they're nice and comfortable and they're getting their piece of food. And then while he's holding on to them, we're able to draw some blood samples just to check up on them to make sure they're nice and healthy. Our priority here at our aquarium, like most institutions that work with animals, is always the comfort, the health, and the safety of our animals. So that is what Dave is doing right now. So today he's going to be feeding them some capelin, which is what he's feeding them right now, which are these tiny little sardine-looking things that you see. He also has down here, we have some yummy squid, which they love. In fact, most of our sharks here at the aquarium love squid. It's one of their absolute favorite food. In the wilds, zebra sharks, they actually usually eat shellfish like squid. You might not think it's a shellfish, but it is a mollusk. Even though it's lost its shell, it is still a mollusk. It is still a shellfish. And they also eat snails. They'll eat crustaceans as well, like crabs and shrimp. But they can also eat small fish like the size of a capelin. Their teeth are mostly specialized for eating this kind of food. They are used to chewing on tough shells, so their teeth are more flattened to help them in actually chewing on it, and then they will easily take it up and digest it. And their teeth, though, still do have the little spikes at the end of them, and that helps them for tearing at small fish, which, again, they do occasionally eat. So you can see here that they're very comfortable with Dave. They absolutely have no problem with him holding on to them and interacting with them, even playing with them a little bit. These sharks have gotten very, very used to him. You can kind of get a good look at them as well. You'll see that super long tail of theirs, and you can see that they can make very sharp turns. This is good because these animals mostly live in coral reefs, very shallow water, places where there are lots of places for them to hide and their prey to hide. Oh, look at that beautiful shark belly. So here you can see its mouth. You can see how it opens up and gets the food. And look how it has absolutely no problem with Dave handling her in such a way. You can also see her barbels a little bit. They kind of look like little whiskers near her nares, near her nostrils. Giving her a sweet kiss there, Dave. Those little whiskered-like things are called barbels, and they are chemoreceptors. Chemoreceptors means that they use them to actually smell and taste the water. You might notice that their eyes are kind of small, a little beady, so they can't see, but their eyes aren't as good as other species of sharks or other animals that might live in the ocean. So they do primarily try and find their prey by using their sense of smell, their sense of taste. But like all sharks, they also have a cool sixth sense called electroreception. So electroreception means that they can sense the electricity that comes out of animals that might be hiding. They are able to sense that electricity, just like our heartbeats. Every time our heart beats, we are sending off electrical signals into the water, and they are able to sense that. So they can sense Dave in the water. Even if they don't see him, they know that he's still there. They can sense the electricity coming from his body. They've gotten very used to him. But like I was saying, they are very good at making sharp turns, which is excellent for living in such tight spaces like in coral reefs. Makes it a lot easier for them to catch their prey that might try and slip away, and also makes it easier for them to try and get away from their own predators. You did hear correctly, these sharks do have predators. Actually, there are lots of species of shark that are predators for other animals in the ocean. And in fact, some of their main predators are other species of sharks. There are sharks that are much bigger than these beautiful ladies and others of their kind in the wild. So bull sharks and tiger sharks would be some of their main predators. But because of that carpet-like skin that they have, again, they are a type of carpet shark because of this funny pattern that they have on their skin. It does make them blend into their environment very well. And they're very good at finding nice, tight places to hide to get away from their predators. In the wild, they're actually also known for being very curious and being friendly with divers that they see. As long as they know that the person doesn't mean them any harm, they will either be benign and sometimes even friendly with them. And the only cases of people ever getting bitten by them are usually people doing something to the shark that they weren't supposed to, like pulling on their tail or trying to ride the shark. And again, you should not try this in the wild, folks, what Dave is doing with our sharks. Again, they have been trained. They are very used to this kind of treatment. If you were to do this with a shark in the wild, they would probably get pretty upset. Absolutely beautiful animals. It's unfortunate, however, though, that these guys are starting to become quite endangered in the wild. The only place where they're not endangered is Australia, and I'll explain that in a sec. But the reason why they are getting endangered, oh, it looks like they annoyed one of the black-tip reef sharks there. That sometimes happens when you live with your neighbors. Sometimes you have little scuffles. It's okay. But the zebra sharks in the wild are starting to become endangered for two major reasons. One of them is because, well, they're actually a major food source for lots of parts of the world. And these guys live in the Indo-Pacific, so you'll find them in Southeast Asia, in the southern coast of China, along the Indonesian, Polynesian islands, and in Australia as well. And a lot of those places, they will actually hunt them and eat them. They will use their fins to make shark fin soup. In certain parts of China, they will do that. And they will actually use their liver oil to make vitamins and other products like that, which is kind of unfortunate because there are ways that we can make vitamins and keep people healthy without having to decimate this beautiful animal's population. Another reason that they are starting to go extinct is because of their homes, their coral reefs where they live. A lot of them are unfortunately getting destroyed because of, well, A, habitat destruction due to unsustainable fishing practices, and then also because of coral bleaching. So coral bleaching is this thing that happens to coral reefs. Corals are alive, they are an animal, and if the temperature changes and gets too hot, which is what's happening now with climate change, even just by 1 degree, the corals will start to starve to death because the algae that grows inside the coral is what gives the coral the polyps their food. So if this algae no longer is able to give them food, which they won't, because again, with just 1 degree temperature change, they will stop giving the coral their food. Well, the coral will spit them out, and then slowly the coral will start to starve. Oh, did someone else just join us?
We did. Sorry, we had our class from Texas just joined us.
Oh, there we go. Hi there.
Sorry.
Not a problem. So yeah, that's little spiel I have about these cool animals. Should we open it up to some questions, or
Yeah.
would you? Yeah.
No, absolutely, Patrick. That was great. That was a ton of great information about the sharks, about what Dave's up to there in the aquarium. So, thank you very much for that great little introduction and
My
all
pleasure.
that great information. Let's meet some classrooms now. So we have a great group of classrooms joining us from different spots around North America today. So let's visit our kindergartens first. We've got a group of 25 kindergartens joining us in Oakville, so not too far from where you are in Toronto.
Oh, yes.
With Mrs. Agnew. Let me turn their microphone on.
Everyone say hi.
All right,
hi, everyone.
Who's got a question?
Stand up. Stand up and say, why do they have stripes?
Why do they have stripes?
Derek
Well, the
wants
stripes.
to know. What you heard? Sorry, he wants to know why they have stripes.
Yeah, well, they have stripes when they first are born. And the reason they do is because, like all carpet sharks, they do have these elaborate patterns. And it actually helps them blend in more when they're young. It helps them blend in more with the tight spaces where they go into. But as they grow up, they can't fit in as many of those tiny spaces. So the spots actually help them quite a bit more. It kind of looks a lot more like the pebbly and sandy bottoms of the coral reefs where they live. So that's why they have stripes. It helps them blend in their environment.
All right, great question from our kindergartens, and we're going to come back to you shortly, so be ready with another one. But for now, we're going to visit our next classroom. We're going to go another close classroom, so Mississauga, some grade 6s with Mrs. Forsey. Let me turn your microphone on. How's it going, grade 6s?
Hi there.
Are we allowed to ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
Annie.
Why does the male bite the female before?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
She asked, why does the male bite the female's pectoral fins? She was doing some research and was curious.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's actually just part of their mating behavior. So it helps make the female more submissive. So that's why they'll actually do that kind of biting behavior. Sometimes it can look a little violent, but that's just their natural behavior. That's what they do. The males will bite the females, and then they will try and force her to be more receptive to the actual mating process. And biting the pectoral fins is part of that. That's where they will clasp onto with their teeth, so the female doesn't swim away, and then the male can proceed to mate with them. Good question.
All right, thank you very much. And like I said, another close classroom, Mississauga, not far at all.
Yes.
Let's jump to Mrs. Tishkoff's group. They're grade 4-5s joining us in the United States from Woodbridge. And I'll just get you guys to confirm for me, is it Connecticut or New York where you are today? Connecticut. Excellent.
Okay, Nana. How did the sharks come to live at the aquarium?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, so a lot of these sharks, these sharks were actually born in captivity. So there was a place in 2004 that actually successfully bred some zebra sharks at the Shed Aquarium in Chicago. And they actually had over 100 pups. So a lot of those pups were actually sent to other facilities where they could grow up and where we could keep them. But some of our other sharks were actually caught in the wild. So, for instance, our sand tiger sharks, which are not in this tank, they're a little too big for this tank here, but we do have them in this very large tank in Dangerous Lagoon. A lot of those sharks were actually caught in the wild by members of our own husbandry staff who went out to Florida and actually caught them with a longline fishing. And then once they were caught, they were brought here to their new home. Yeah.
All right, let's visit another classroom. We're going to go to Guelph, Ontario. So about an hour from the aquarium with Mrs. Bendo's class, grade 3s. Let me turn your microphone on. How are we doing, grade 3s?
Great. How fast can they swim?
How fast can they swim? That's a pretty good question. Well, this shark, they're not known for their extreme speeds. Exactly how fast they can swim, I'm not sure. Dave, do you happen to know any idea how fast approximately these guys can swim? Yeah, maybe a max probably around, so Dave said that probably around 25 miles per hour maximum. But again, most of these sharks in this tank, they're not known for their speed. They can be pretty quick on making a sharp turn and capturing prey, like I mentioned. But when it comes to just pure swimming and trying to escape in a straight line, yeah, that would probably be around the maximum 25 miles per hour. There are other species of shark that are way faster, mostly species that you'll find in the big open ocean, not these species that live in coral reefs.
All right, great question. And our final live classroom is joining us from San Antonio, Texas. Mr. Gulahar's grade 2s. How are we doing, grade 2s? Oops, I don't have your microphone.
All right, now how are we doing?
There we go.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
How much do they weigh?
Could you repeat that?
How much do they weigh?
How much do they weigh? Well, I'm not sure how much that these ones weigh in particular, but they usually weigh around 45 to 65 pounds. How much do these beautiful ladies weigh? Right. So apparently the females, they might weigh around maximum around 90 pounds of the zebra sharks here, but we haven't actually gotten a measure of them. So it's not positive, but they do weigh a lot less than you'd think, and that's because of their skeleton. The skeleton of a shark, and not just the zebra sharks, but all sharks and stingrays as well, close relatives of the sharks, their skeletons aren't made out of bone like our skeletons are, or like bony fish are. They're actually made out of cartilage. They're mostly made out of cartilage, which is the stuff that makes your nose and your ears. So it's a lot lighter than actual bone. So that's why they don't weigh as much as you would think, even though they are quite big and quite long.
All right, so we've made a swing through and visit each of our classrooms. I just want to give a reminder, I can see there's a few classrooms who are watching live on YouTube. Send in your questions via the chat sidebar. Let us know where you're watching from, and we'll sneak a couple of them in. But for now, let's swing back to our kindergarten classroom with Mrs. Agnew. Let me turn your microphone on. And if you guys have another question, go ahead.
How long do tigers live?
Here? How long do tiger sharks live?
How long do tiger sharks live?
Sorry, zebra sharks. Zebra sharks.
Oh, zebra sharks. Well, zebra sharks, yeah, they can actually live from 25 to 35 years.
All right, and then where would they live longer? Probably in the aquarium. Their lifespan a little bit safer for them, so they can live a little longer.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, in captivity, it's sometimes a little bit less than that, which it does sound a little bit odd, but it does, yeah, you're right that they are not going to be eaten by any predators. So in that sense, they will live longer. But if you were to have a zebra shark that lived in the wild that never got caught by a predator, they would actually still outlive the ones that are usually caught in captivity. And that goes for most animals, actually.
All right, perfect. Great question, kindergarten. Let's go back to Mrs. Forsey's group. Let me turn your microphone on.
What about you?
When did their population exist?
Describe.
You go a little louder?
When did their population
So the question was, when did their population start to decrease?
Oh, they've been decreasing for quite a while. There are some parts, like I said, in Southeast Asia where they're actually completely locally extinct, which means that they're not around in those parts of the coral reefs anymore at all. But in the past decade or so, the Australian government has been making some initiatives where they act law. So now, because of that, because of government intervention and because they've been trying very hard to protect the coral reefs as well where they live, their populations have started to come back. So it just goes to show that if people care about something and if people actually make an effort and make a change, then you can help these animals as well. And there are little things that we can do to help as well, you know, just trying to eat food that's more local instead of something that was caught very far away, or making sure to eat food that was caught in a sustainable way, which means it was caught in a way that doesn't hurt the animal's population or hurt the population of other animals. And, you know, of course, recycling, reduce, reuse, recycle, all of those good things can help make the zebra sharks' home stay nice and clean and make sure that the zebra sharks stay around for much longer. But people need to actually make the effort. So to answer your question, how long has this been going on? Probably as long as there's been fishing, which is a while. So you can imagine that it will take some time before they start bouncing back, even when we do start actually making an effort to do so.
All right, let's head back to Connecticut. Visit Mrs. Tishkoff's grade 4-5s again. Your microphone's on.
What do you need to learn to become a shark trainer?
What do you need to learn to become a shark trainer? Well, Dave here is a marine biologist. Dave, what was your schooling like? Yeah, so Dave did 4 years an undergraduate degree at university, and then he did a master's degree in science as well, and then he actually worked with shark conservation, and then from that, you know, he had the right, you know, amount of the right mindset, the right education, the right background, so he managed to work over here. But we have people who work here as aquarists that have, you know, only have their undergraduate degree and have worked, you know, not as many years in husbandry or in conservation, and they still work here. So having an undergraduate degree, however, going to school and studying biology, studying the sciences, that's always a really good place to start. And then you just, you know, look for whatever's available. You know, maybe you might work here at our aquarium someday. Who knows?
All right, let's pay a visit to our class in Guelph again, Mrs. Bendo's class. Your microphone's on.
How can you tell between a female and a male zebra shark?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, that's a great question. So this is actually a trick that you can use, and it's not just for zebra sharks, but actually for all sharks and all stingrays. So it's kind of hard to see now, but actually, let's look at these bamboo sharks over here real quick. Bamboo sharks are another kind of carpet shark, very small. This is as big as they get, but they're close relatives of the zebra shark. You notice how they have those two pectoral fins on the side, the two big ones at the front, and then they have two smaller fins near the back on the underside. Those are called pelvic fins. Now the males, underneath, in between those pelvic fins, there are two finger-like projections. Those are called claspers. Now claspers are essentially the male's penis, and it's what they use for mating with the female. So if you look at those two back pelvic fins and you look underneath them, and if you see two long finger-like projections, those are claspers, and you know that that's a male. And you can use that trick for not just any shark, but for stingrays as well. If you look at their pelvic fins in the back and you look to see underneath them, if they have those two finger-like things, then you know it's a male. If they don't have them, then it's a female. Good question.
All right, and we'll finish up today with one more trip to San Antonio, where I assume they're having much better weather than we're having here in southern Ontario with our two-day ice storm.
Yeah, it's about 70 degrees outside, nice sunny day, beautiful. We went outside and read, it was lovely.
Okay, well, you don't have to rub it in.
Not to rub it in, right?
Are zebra sharks located on all parts of the ocean?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Are zebra sharks located on all parts of the ocean?
No, they're actually mostly located in the Indo-Pacific. So the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean, in that general area, in warmer waters. And like I mentioned, more in the shallow water, like in coral reefs, because that makes it a lot easier for them to hide from their predators, and also where they do their best hunting for shellfish.
All right. Well, Patrick, a huge thanks to you today for all the great information, the great camera work, and for taking the questions today. And obviously a big thanks to David as well for being in the water and working with the sharks. And it really looks like just a fun place to be, to get to interact with the animals. And then the education part must be a lot of fun as well, too.
Oh, it's a really good time. I love it here.
All right. Well, a huge thank you to our classrooms from Canada and the US. You guys had awesome questions. And before we sign off today, I will turn your microphones on. We'll give you a chance to say goodbye and thank you nice and loud. But again, to all the staff at the aquarium, thank you so much for another great hangout today.
My pleasure.
All right, boys and girls, here we go. Microphone coming on. Nice and loud. All right. Again, thanks everybody for today. Lots of fun. Enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you to the aquarium, and we're signing off for today.
Yeah, thanks to you guys so much. Thanks for the awesome questions. Say goodbye to Dave. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.